headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. Suspicion and fear of a rise in COVID-19 cases, Panamanians relaxed the restrictive measures announced by health authorities after 5 months of social isolation. According to Health Minister Luis Francisco Sucre, movement restrictions by hours according to identity card number is eliminated. Sucre said that as of Monday, August 24, these measures arise after several economic sectors, such as hairdresser shops, opened their doors this week and citizens expressed lack of time to do their business. Since the first COVID-19 case was detected in Panama on March 9, the country has reported 82,543 infections and 1,788 deaths. Panama has recently entered the list of countries affected by the pandemic. The Cuban COVID-19 vaccine candidate that was recently registered for clinical trials was officially presented by Cuban authorities. Details of the FinLine FR1 vaccine candidate were presented to Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel and the group working to combat the coronavirus in the country. Dr. Vicente Vélez Bencomo, director of the FinLine Institute of Vaccines, noted that the team that has developed the vaccine candidate are confident that it will prove effective. Having passed animal testing and been approved by the Cuban Public Registry of Clinical Trials, the drug will now go to phase 1 and 2 clinical trials on humans. The Cuban vaccine candidate is number 30 worldwide to be accepted by its national regulatory entity. That means that Cuba is among the first countries with capacity to develop a vaccine candidate to accelerate the investigation process against the coronavirus pandemic.
If you look at the other 29 vaccines in clinical trials, they are mainly vaccines from rich countries, from 5 other rich countries, and that our country, with its great spirit, has managed to get this far is really a source of great excitement and pride. I think that things like this, feats like this, of our science, are some of the things that also reaffirm more and more the feeling and the pride of being Cuban. People have to understand that although it is a road that has opened up hope, it is a road that is still long, involving months of rigor in clinical trials, in each of its phases, and therefore we still have to maintain, as you propose, have to demand more responsibility.
In Cuba, the National Director of the Epidemiology of the Ministry of Public Health, Francisco Duran, informed the country on the current situation of COVID-19 patients.
Of the 3,565 confirmed COVID-19 cases to date, 581 are hospitalized. No COVID-19 related deaths have been reported in the last 15 days. Cuba's mortality rate is 2.56%. Yesterday, 31 patients were discharged. However, we did not achieve a positive balance between the number of discharges and admitted cases. The number of cases that were confirmed was much higher. In total, 2,894 patients have recovered from the disease, 81.2% of all the confirmed cases in Cuba.
In Guyana, 3 new COVID-19 deaths were recorded within the last 3 days. Guyana has now officially recorded 25 deaths in total as a result of the virus. The latest COVID-19 death was recorded on August 18th. According to a press release from the Ministry of Health, the 25th COVID-19 fatality was a patient at the Bartica Hospital who died while receiving care. In Trinidad and Tobago, the new government was sworn in this Wednesday. The Prime Minister, Keith Rowley, thanked the nation for the re-election and promised to improve the social and economic situation that the country is facing.
I, Keith Christopher Rowley, do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago and will uphold the Constitution and the law, that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as Prime Minister and to do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister also said that the new cabinet will frequently supervise.
I want to give you the assurance, Your Excellency, that all my colleagues will observe the oath of office taken here today and to conduct the business of the people of Trinidad and Tobago in keeping with that oath. I thank you.
In an exclusive interview with Telesur, the candidate for the presidency of Ecuador, Andrés Araúz, spoke about the political persecution that the leaders of the Revolución Ciudadana movement had suffered for 3 years. Araúz highlighted that Ecuadorian society cannot continue this path and should respect all political alternatives.
I know that I wasn't a direct victim of such a brutal persecution because I didn't have that high profile. The competitors who had a political protagonism, those who were at the front in defense of the Revolución Ciudadana movement, were persecuted. In defense of their principles, they were extremely persecuted. So we have to commit ourselves as a society to no longer follow that path.
Araúz also said that the current president, Lenín Moreno, is hostile to the leaders of the Revolución Ciudadana movement and believes that Ecuadorians know about how Moreno broke his promises.
We have to look forward when we have a clear political idea, when there is a historical conscience of the role we play and the one we are assuming in the society. I don't think we should take into account the treason.
And we'll be right back after this short break, so don't go away.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back to From the South. Global confirmed cases of COVID-19 reached nearly 22 million and the death toll exceeded 775,000, according to the latest data from the World Health Organization. The United States and Brazil are the most affected and leading both confirmed cases and death figures, with the U.S. reporting more than 5 million confirmed cases and almost 170,000 deaths, while Brazil reported more than 3 million confirmed cases and over 108,000 deaths. Other nations severely affected are India, Russia, South Africa, Peru, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and Spain. The worst numbers of lost patients are in Mexico with 57,000 deaths, followed by India and the UK with similar figures. According to the World Health Organization regional offices, the Americas remain the most affected area by COVID-19, with a total of 11,758,000 confirmed patients and over 422,000. Europe can combat the coronavirus without full lockdowns. This is the opinion of the World Health Organization's Regional Director for Europe.
But we are not in February. We can manage the virus differently now. than we did when COVID-19 first emerged. With the basic nationwide and additional targeted measures, we are in a much better position to stamp out these localized virus flare-ups. We can manage the virus and keep the economy running and an education system in operation.
On Thursday, the director of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, Kirill Dmitriev, announced that clinical trials of the Russian coronavirus vaccine Sputnik V will start next week with the participation of 40,000 people. Dmitriev stated that this stage of the clinical trials will be carried out in full compliance with international standards. The trial will be blind and placebo-controlled. The vaccine's most common side effects are pain in the area where the injection was administered and headaches. Some volunteers experienced hypothermia as well. The vaccine's effectiveness was assessed based on the participants' immune response. The results show that 100% of the volunteers developed antibodies that neutralize the virus. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has summoned the 80th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party for January to lay out a new 5-year plan for the nation's economy. Kim made the announcement at the meeting of the party's Central Committee on Wednesday, where he assessed achievements and shortcomings since the last Congress in 2016. The North Korean leader said that there had been unexpected and inevitable challenges in different aspects, including the situation in the region surrounding the Korean Peninsula. Kim called for regularly convening the Congress of the party, meaning that Pyongyang is likely to hold the meetings according to a more fixed timetable in the future. The last Congress in 2016 was held after 20 years without any party's Congress. Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Krenin ordered the reinforcement of troops in the western region of Grodno, on the border of Poland and Lithuania, with tactical missile units, drones, and air defense systems. Earlier, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that the increase in NATO activities on the nation's western borders has caused concern in Minsk. Therefore, during a meeting of the Security Council, the president ordered the Defense Ministry to keep a close eye on the NATO forces. Troops in Grodno are already carrying out military exercises involving infantry and tank battalions, as well as artillery and airborne troops. U.S. Senator Kamala Harris said that Trump's failed leadership has cost lives and livelihoods. She heavily criticized President Trump during her acceptance speech to the Democratic Party's nomination as vice presidential candidate.
Donald Trump's failure of leadership has cost lives and livelihoods. If you're a parent struggling with your child's remote learning, or you're a teacher struggling on the other side of that screen, you know what we're doing right now is not working.
The Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, criticized Donald Trump's presidency and welcomed Kamala Harris' nomination for the vice presidency during the third night of the Democratic National Convention.
Increase our majority in the House. We will win a Democratic majority in the Senate. We will elect Kamala Harris vice president, and we will elect Joe Biden president of the United States of America. God bless you, and God bless America. We will remember in November when we will elect Joe Biden president, whose heart is full of love for America, and rid the country of Trump's heartless disregard for America's goodness. Joe Biden's faith in God gives him the courage to lead. Joe Biden's love gives him the strength to persevere. Joe Biden is the president we need right now, battle-tested, forward-looking, honest, and authentic. He has never forgotten who he is fighting for.
And former U.S. President Barack Obama took part as well in the third night of the Democratic National Convention and strongly criticized the current administration.
Close to 4 years now, he has shown no interest in putting in the work, no interest in finding common ground, no interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends. No interest in treating the presidency as anything but one more reality show that he can use to get the attention he craves. Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe. 170,000 Americans dead. Millions of jobs gone, while those at the top take in more than ever. Our worst impulses unleashed, our proud reputation around the world badly diminished, and our democratic institutions threatened like never before.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Thursday, Iran unveiled a ballistic and a cruise missile. The presentation comes amid growing tensions between Iran and the U.S. and later wants to extend the arms embargo against Iran and reestablish international sanctions. The ballistic missile Al-Qassem, named in honor of top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in January in an U.S. strike in Baghdad, has a reach of 1,400 kilometers. The cruise missile was named in honor of Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, the Iraqi lieutenant of Soleimani, also killed in the same strike, and it has a reach of 1,000 kilometers. U.S. President Donald Trump demanded on Wednesday that the United Nations reinstate all international sanctions against Iran, which were lifted in 2015 nuclear deal, a demand that is likely to spark tensions within the Security Council. And Russia already stated its position. Moscow rejected Washington's intention to reinstate the United Nations sanctions on Iran. Russia's permanent representative to international organizations in Vienna, Mikhail Ulyanov, said the U.S. was about to make a big mistake which can have extremely negative implications, not only for the United States, but for the United Nations as a whole. The Russian official described Trump's claim that the U.S. remains a participant in the 2015 nuclear deal as illogical. Ulyanov further underlined the need for the countries that still respect the agreement to stay put in the face of Washington's destabilizing efforts. During the early hours of this Thursday morning, Israel forces attacked Gaza Strip for 8th consecutive day. Tel Aviv regime launched an artillery strike of the besieged Gaza Strip, hitting positions of the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement Hamas. According to Israeli authorities, the attacks are in response to the launch of incendiary gas balloons from the Gaza border. On the other hand, Palestinian authorities claim that this bombing against Palestinian agricultural lands and homes in Gaza are an attempt to distract public attention from the political crisis in Israel. Hundreds of Palestinians gathered in the occupied West Bank to protest the agreement to normalize relations between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. The meeting was attended by members and political leaders of the Hamas and Fatah factions of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who are now establishing bonds of unity in the face of the tense international situation and the internal crisis in Palestine.
Our presence here today among us and our Palestinian unity, which we embody today virtually on the ground, is the most powerful message for the occupation force and for those who are doing the normalization, for the United States and for all others. The Palestinian people today stands united, and we are in a foxhole defending our rights and holding on to our land, our rights and our holy places.
Governments of Russia and Syria reached an agreement to expand Khemim Air Base located in Latakia province. Syria agreed to provide territory for the expansion of the Russian air base. The parties also agreed to set up a medical and rehabilitation center in Latakia province. Damascus plans to hand over an area of approximately 8 hectares for these expansions. The closing of the negotiation takes place after the Russian air defense shot down an enemy drone over this air base and is part of a strategy to prevent future attacks. Army Colonel Assimi Goita on Wednesday introduced himself as Mali's new military strongman a day after a coup that was condemned by the international community but won support from the country's opposition. The African Union, European Union, the United States, and the UN Security Council have all demanded the junta-free President Ibrahim Boubacar, Prime Minister Boubou Cissé, and others taken captive in Tuesday's coup that followed months of protest. In the Malian capital Bamako, Goïta said after meeting top civil servants that he was the leader of the National Committee for the Salvation of the People that was seized-powered. Lebanon is suffering three different crises: the COVID-19 pandemic, the political conflict, and the aftermath of the port's explosion. Refugees in this Arab country are suffering the situation. UN's High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi visited UNHCR-founded Center for COVID-19 Isolation in the town of Kabrin, in the Akkar district in northern Lebanon.
This is a time when the Lebanese also are in their hour of need.
ولكن في هذه المرحلة اللبنانيون أيضا هم بحاجة.
The corona pandemic, which started a few months ago, of course, has hit Lebanon like every other country.
جائحة كورونا اللي هي بدأت من عدة أشهر أكيد أثرت على لبنان كسائر الدول الأخرى.
And of course, as we saw in Beirut yesterday, also the blast at the port has been another disaster that has hit everybody in this country, but first and foremost the Lebanese people.
On Thursday, the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention said that the continent is set to conduct 20 million tests for COVID-19 by November. The announcement was made by Jean Nixon-Kong, director of the Africa CDC. The 20 million tests will be conducted as part of a campaign just launched by the African Union named Africa versus COVID-19, Saving Lives, Economies and Livelihoods. Kang Song said that the continent is experiencing an overall positive trend, referring to what he described as a slow bend in the curve over the past 2 weeks. Infection rate almost halved, over 13% of the 7%. On Thursday, Africa CDC confirmed over 1.15 million COVID-19 cases and more than 26,000 deaths. In Morocco, parts of the city of Marrakech were placed under lockdown again in an effort to slow down the spread of the novel coronavirus pandemic as cases of infection continues to increase. The African nation has been reporting more than 1,000 cases daily since the beginning of August. The virus infections spike in Morocco is pushing an economic collapse linked to the tourism industry crisis due to the borders closure. To date, Morocco has confirmed over 46,000 COVID-19 cases and 743 deaths. And with the amazing music of the Cuban singer, pianist, and actress Rita Montaner, we finish this news brief when we celebrate the 120th anniversary of her birth. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.